All right, people. Now let's talk about type 2 diabetes in this video. So the first question for me is, what is type 2 diabetes? I have some notes here. I'm reading it. So when your body becomes so resistant to insulin and then sugar builds up in your blood, that is when we are talking about type 2 diabetes. Now, there are many risk factors that have been associated with type 2 diabetes that I want to talk about. So, being overweight, there's a behavioral issue, the way we eat. Maybe we are eating too much, more calories, more weight. So we need to find a way to control our weight. Not being physically active is also another risk factor for type 2 diabetes. Again, being physically active would help to deal with being overweight to some extent. And then there's also growing older, which is something that we cannot do anything about. But one other risk factor for type 2 diabetes, which is high blood pressure, that is something I want to talk about more. Now we've come to understand that stress is one of the most important factors that have been associated with higher blood pressure. So if high blood pressure is one of the factors that is contributing to type 2 diabetes, then we find a way to control high blood pressure, and the risk for developing type 2 diabetes will be reduced. So we know that stress is one of the most important factors for high blood pressure. So the question then is, now we've come to understand that stress is not just stress, but it is environmental stress. It is part of the environment. It is part of our day-to-day lives, which is why we develop, one of the factors for why we are struggling with high blood pressure. So if we can find a way to deal with stress, then we will reduce our risk of dealing with high blood pressure and also the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. So how then do we deal with stress? Like I said in my previous videos, make sure you are engaging in some relaxation techniques like progressive muscle relaxation. Make sure you are doing some meditation exercises almost every day. Get physically active. Eat a well-balanced diet. Sleep sufficiently at night. These are some of the ways that we can control stress in order to reduce the risk of developing high blood pressure, which is also a risk factor for type 2 diabetes.